To begin, at times the aversion to religion, because of the war and hatred and division, is really a genuine, heartfelt response to suffering. There is a virtuous intention here. And the desire to avoid religious discussions or avoid religious affiliation is driven by this love of humankind. And it's important to always keep that in mind. At the same time, I would suggest you're actually stepping out of the frying pan and into the fire. Why? Because when an individual actually states that they are, say, for example, an atheist and therefore not religious, they are still defining themselves in opposition to a Buddhist or to a Hindu. When a person actually states that they are secularist, I'm not religious myself, which I wasn't for a large portion of my life, I am not somehow getting out of the battle or out of the fray. Why? Because my belief systems still have direct bearing upon the belief systems of others. My social concerns are right at that moment actually having a bearing upon the kinds of conversations and affiliations one can have. And they invariably bear upon issues of political interactions. If I myself am not religious, I do not believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. If I did believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God, I would be a Christian. If I am not religious, I am not a Muslim. I therefore do not believe that the Prophet Muhammad was a messenger from God. I do not believe that the Quran is the express word of God. If I did, I would be a Muslim. This goes for Buddhism. If I actually believe that the Buddha is the awakened one, the Tathagata, who is himself an expression of the Dharma, I would be a Buddhist. But if I myself am not religious, I am actually on the opposite side of the fence of that individual who does believe that the Buddha is an expression of the Dharma, who does actually believe that the Prophet Muhammad is a prophet from God revealing the Word of God, or that Jesus Christ was the Logos, the Word of God made flesh. And this is fine, this is a perfectly acceptable position, but it does not remove me from a division based upon a difference of opinion and belief. No, it's just another case of a difference of opinion or a difference of belief. Oftentimes I've heard people say, well, I believe that they believe that, which actually really doesn't mean anything. Of course you believe that they believe that. They just said that they are Christian or Buddhist or Muslim. It does not remove the opposition, and I don't mean opposition in a negative sense. I just mean there are opposing views, for example, on the station of the New Testament, or the station of the person of Moses, or the station of the Buddha. We do not suddenly get out of, if you will, a contest of worldviews by saying we disagree with a whole bunch of worldviews. We might, however, simply be stating that we do not wish to have this kind of discussion. But I would suggest this as well actually condemns us to boiling division and antagonism. Because I think as a humankind, we actually have to hash these things out. We actually have to have these discussions. We actually have to make these discussions more loving and cordial, as opposed to simply avoiding the issues themselves. The point here is very simple. Staying outside of religion is not staying out of the contest of claims and truths, unless you simply mean that you're just refusing to actually discuss it. And what's interesting, why I said out of the frying pan into the fire, is because, and this is my own, obviously my perspective in my own study of comparative religion, but if I am a Christian, I at least believe that two very large communities actually have a part of the truth. One being the Jewish people, and actually the Christian fold. If I'm a Muslim, I can actually include the Christian, the Jewish, and the Islamic fold. Even I would suggest, if you actually study the Pali Canon, the original scriptures of Buddhism, and you see therein reflected a vast array of Hindu beliefs, you as a Buddhist can actually look in Hinduism and see therein a reflection of the Dharma. And you can say they have a piece of the truth, that they are actually somehow trying to seek to attain nirvana, maybe not doing it in its fullest expression. I myself as a Baha'i can actually look at a Jewish individual, a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, and a Hindu and actually say, actually they really do genuinely have honest revelations from God. There is beauty and profundity and wonder here. That's why I am still a student of the Bhagavad Gita of Hinduism, or the Upanishads, or the Quran, or the New Testament, or the Old Testament. I can actually say this. When I was a secularist, I was very, very honest about this. I can't say any of that. Actually, any of these individuals is following a belief system that is genuinely false. Why? Because it's predicated on the belief that this individual, be the Buddha, or the Prophet Muhammad, or Jesus Christ, or Moses, is a interlocutor, a mouthpiece for divine realms, an expression of transcendent spiritual truth. And I didn't believe that. So I would simply say, no, I believe you to be wrong. That is okay. We can still be friends and we can still get along and have wonderful, rich discussions. But you are wrong. Hence, prior to being a Baha'i, I actually disagreed with more people than I currently do, on much more fundamental and far-reaching issues. Out of the frying pan into the fire. So this fundamental point is what? That actually avoiding the topic of religion, or avoiding labeling, as often is said, oneself as religious, does not actually stop the division. The camps are still there, the opposing perspectives are still there. What we have to do best, if we are to remain in different groups and different belief systems, is to be able to lovingly disagree and have open discourse. And this is the Baha'i perspective. And if someone still in this point actually states, but I actually do believe that what they believe is true, I would still press the issue and I would say, so you do believe that the Prophet Muhammad is the prophet of God, that there is no God but God, and that the Prophet Muhammad is the prophet of God? And if they say yes, in essence they've said the Shahada, the declaration of faith, and are now a Muslim. But then I would ask, are you yourself someone who believes that the Buddha is an expression of the Dharma in this world, and that his teachings are there for the enlightening of all humankind and are the only road to nirvana? If that individual says yes, I would say, well, then you are a Buddhist, actually. And you should be open and honest about being a Buddhist. If, however, the individual says, well, I don't actually believe that the Prophet Muhammad was a prophet of God, then I would say, that's right. Then you yourself are not a Muslim, and you think what Muslims believe is wrong. And that's okay. If you don't believe the Quran is the word of God, then you're not a Muslim, and you actually do not agree with all Muslims, and that is okay. It's perfectly fine to disagree with each other and be honest about it, so then we can actually have discussions. But to pretend that we don't disagree itself is merely dishonest and leaves it, if you will, simmering in the background.